This is On the Sidelines with Fox 13.
Hello and welcome to the On the Sidelines podcast. I am your fill-in host this week, filling in for Ethan McReynolds. This is producer Austin Lane. Joining me is your normal co-host, Dante Jackson, as well as our guest, Fox 13 sports reporter Curtis Crabtree. Thank you for being here. Like I said, filling in for Ethan, who is down there in California this week, covering all the Super Bowl festivities leading up to the game on Sunday, and that's obviously the big thing we're going to be talking about on this week's episode is Super Bowl 60 right around the corner. Our Seahawks playing in Super Bowl 60. DJack and Curtis, just first thoughts of how important of a game this is, and everything leading up to this week has been crazy, and now we're finally here, and Super Bowl 60 is on the horizon. What are your feelings, just overall, not even just about the game itself, about the Super Bowl, and the Seahawks are back in the Super Bowl? How does that make you just feel?
I mean, it makes me feel great, but this is something that I can say I expected. This is something we talked about before the season even started. I expected the Hawks to be here. So with that being said, the job is not finished. So I am excited, but I'm not overly excited because they haven't won the championship just yet. So they must finish the job, and then we'll have the parade.
As somebody who's covered 3 Super Bowls, about the time you get to the middle of the second week, it's like, can the game get here already? That's very much where I am at this point. Every kind of little aspect of the game's been analyzed to death, and you just feel like you know what's coming. And I'm there now as well. So I'm very eager to see if my thoughts for this game play out the way I think they will here when the game kicks off on Sunday night.
And also, Austin, in recent memory, the Seahawks have been one of the most winningest teams in the NFL, but they haven't been in the Super Bowl in over a decade. Mm-hmm. So, you got to capitalize on your opportunities when you get them, and that's the prevailing thought in my mind. Let's capitalize. Let's get this. They say we're ahead of schedule. Coach Mike McDonald in his second year, his program in the second year, capitalize on this opportunity right now.
Yeah, there's certainly magic in the air in Seattle. Once again, we felt it when the Mariners went to the postseason. We're feeling it again now with the Super Bowl on the horizon. It's a great team. Like you say, capitalize. There's one more win. You got to get one more win, and then you can start to celebrate. Yes. We do have a fun episode planned for you today. We're going to break down a couple things that we're keeping an eye on going into Sunday. I'm going to look at Sam Darnold specifically on offense, talk about his resurgence in the NFC Championship game and how he's looking heading into the Super Bowl. We're also going to go on the other side of the ball, look at the Patriots a little bit. Curtis did some tape study looking at the Patriots, and we'll see what he has to say about that. We also had a Fox Sports article come out this week, and they did the whole position breakdown, which team has the edge at each position group. Yes. So I'll go through their list, and we'll talk about maybe some things they missed or some things they hit on with that, and then we'll wrap up with a look at our pick standings. Spoiler alert, I'm in the lead. With one game to go, I'm in the lead. But we'll start there with Sam Darnold. 346 yards, 3 touchdowns in that NFC Championship game to beat the Rams. Curtis, I'll start with you for this one. Everyone talking about Sam Darnold going into this game is talking about how this could be the final stamp of approval for Sam Darnold being one of those top 5, top 10 quarterbacks in the league. When you get to a Super Bowl and it's right there on the doorstep, how does that get into someone's head, and does Sam Darnold kind of have to bury some of his past to get this final win under his belt?
I think if he hasn't done that already, it's not happening. The way he's played in the playoffs, and particularly in the NFC Championship game, that's as good a quarterbacking performance as you could possibly ask for. And, I mean, in the comparison with Drake May, Drake May might be in the conversation for MVP of the regular season. Sam Darnold's vastly outplayed him in the playoffs. It's not even close. Mm-hmm. So the performances that he's had in these wins against the 49ers and Rams to get them here, if you go to Week 18, he passed that test. If you go to Week 16 in the Rams game here and the comeback in the second half, the win over the Rams in the NFC Championship game, I think he's kind of already shown you that he's capable of doing that. It's just a tough narrative to break once it's kind of grabbed hold. And I mean, like I said, I don't know that he can do any more to do it. And of course, the 4-interception game against the Rams midseason kind of probably set things back there a little bit. But I think he's shown you in big moments already he can be that guy. I don't see any reason why he's not going to be ready for this moment when kickoff comes.
Yes, and I talked about it last week. I think he's over the hump. I think this is the version, the NFC Championship version of Sam Darnold is the version he will be moving forward. Now, I don't think he'll throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game, but I think he will protect that ball and have a nice, efficient game. And that's all you need Sam Darnold to do. You don't need him to throw for the 300 yards and the 3 touchdowns, although I like it, definitely. But you don't need him to do that. You need him to protect the ball and make those big throws when he has to. And I think he's done that. This team loves Sam Darnold. That's one of the biggest impressions that I have about this season and Sam Darnold. The team has embraced him. We didn't see that with Geno Smith. And I don't want to bring up the past and talk about Geno because this is not his time. But we did not see the team backing up like Ernest Jones got at the podium and said, if you don't like him, F him, basically, for lack of, I'm paraphrasing, but, he had it. Yeah, he had his back. And you didn't see that with Geno. And we didn't notice that at the time when it was going on. But now that you can contrast the leadership from Darnold compared to what we had before, he has this team under his wing, and I think he will take this team to a championship.
Curtis, you mentioned that 4-interception game against the Rams. It seemed like almost at the same exact time when that happened, the run game got better, like the next week, and then from that point on. How much do you think that helped Darnold himself?
It certainly helped, and, you look at the interceptions he had in that game. He was just trying to do too much. The Rams do a pretty good job of disguising their coverages, and you saw that more in the second game. The 2 interceptions he had in the game here that they won, they got him. Just like he misread what was coming and got in those situations. The interceptions down in Los Angeles were more self-inflicted errors, forcing throws, trying to avoid a sack, throwing something you shouldn't do, and that spiraled on him. And I think after that he was okay, I don't need to be that guy for this team to be successful. I just need to make the right play when it's there. Now, to Dante's point here, you might need a little bit more out of him in this game because the one thing the Patriots defense does really, really well is stop the run. Mm-hmm. So, if Ken Walker and that group, particularly with no Zach Charbonnet to counterbalance it a little bit, can't get you going very much, it might end up having to be more on Sam to get the job done when all said, when the chips are on the table. But in general, he's handled that fine the second half of the season. And certainly, big picture, the development of the running game down the stretch to balance out the offense a little bit has been a big reason why they've been able to do this. And it's one reason where I think if you can point to on offense, if the Seahawks can run the ball, I think you're looking at a trophy hoisting on Sunday night because, there's so many areas of this team where I think the Seahawks have the edge. If they can dent one of the Patriots' strengths in that ground game, I think that plays very much into their favor. And if not, then Sam's going to have to put a little bit more on his shoulders.
Now, you talk about that ground game and it emerging after that 4-interception performance. That's where I credit Coach McDonald, actually. I think he actually took the air out of the ball and started, dictating, hey, we're going to run the ball and play defense. And then when they needed Sam Darnold at the end, he was able to have those efficient, those great games. So I think it was part Sam Darnold, mostly the coaching, that pulled back on the passing game and started focusing more on the run game, which was the right way to go as far as playing to your strengths, which is the defense.
It was just a recognition that some games you don't need to put up the 40 points to win it. The game against the Niners in the final week of the regular season, that was a game they're not scoring. Mm-hmm. We don't need to put the ball all of a sudden you have a turnover, puts the ball at risk, and you almost saw that. I'm blanking on what it was where they
I think he fumbled a snap or something.
Yeah, so to where something happened late in the game where they had the chance to maybe turn the ball over, and ultimately they avoided that, but they knew that the 49ers alone on their offense were not going to be able to score against them. It's they were playing to that game. The Colts game, even though you needed the field goal at the end to win it, Phillip Rivers and that offense was not putting up points against you. Don't give them points by making the mistake. Now, when we need you to huck it, they needed him to outduel Matthew Stafford in that NFC Championship game, he stepped up and did it. By the same token, they don't want to say, don't make the mistake, because that'll make you more timid and, he's got to be able to rip some of those throws.
Yes.
The Jake Bobo touchdown. You got to throw that on time and rip it and expect that it's going to be there. Some of the throws to Jackson Smith and Jigba downfield. You can't neuter him by saying just don't make the mistake. You have to let him be himself, but it's also managing the game around him and making sure everything works.
Exactly. I agree.
That's a great segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is Seattle's defense. I mean, we know what we're getting going into this game. You're getting one of the best defenses in the entire league. But the thing I've heard people talking about this week is these are mostly guys that haven't played in a Super Bowl. How much do you think they're going to rely on veterans who maybe haven't been here but are still vets and, kind of know, hey, I've been around the league long enough to know what goes into playing in a Super Bowl. I maybe haven't played in one myself, but kind of that leadership and kind of calming the nerves of the younger guys.
I think by the time the second snap of the game comes around, it's a football game and they'll be in it. Like all the stuff that leads up to it, the 40-minute halftime they'll have to endure. Like those are the things that you'll have to tweak around a little bit. But once it's football, and those guys know how to play it. Like I don't think Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence and Jaron Reed are going to be awed by the moment. Like they all have friends in this league who have played in those types of games that they can rely on. Cooper Kupp's done it, with the Rams. That they can ask his advice on it. Almost every team has somebody who's played in the Super Bowl as a part of their makeup. So I think they'll be fine on that front. And it kind of goes back to Mike McDonald's kind of philosophy all the way out and through, and not wanting to make any game like they're a very process oriented team. Like we do Wednesday because it's Wednesday. We do Thursday because it's Thursday. We got here doing what we do. Why would we change anything?
Right. And Ernest Jones actually won a championship with the Rams, and he's the quarterback of the defense. So I think he's one of the leaders. So he's been there. I think Jaron Reed went to one with Kansas City Chiefs. So we have a few players. Cooper Kupp, MVP of the Super Bowl. So you have your leaders are actually the ones who's been or had that experience in the Super Bowl when you talk about Jones and Jaron Reed and Cooper Kupp. Those three off the top of my head are the foremost leaders of the team. So I think they have experience in the right place. But as Curtis said, once the ball is kicked off, it's ball. So, and I think the Seahawks have the better team, and they should win this game.
Yeah, and the one Super Bowl win we have in team history came with a bunch of similar guys, Sherman, Chancellor, Thomas, Wilson. None of those guys had played in a Super Bowl before that game, and we saw how that one went. Yeah. So definitely good points being made there. But yeah, let's talk more about one of the players that has played in a Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp. When you get to a Super Bowl and you're lining up against a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba, you're going to try and do everything in your power to stop him. And I think that opens up more opportunities for a guy like Cooper Kupp to come in and we saw it in the NFC Championship, get like clutch third down catches to get a first down. He might not, walk away with 10 catches, 150 yards in the Super Bowl, but he might be able to play that Jermaine Kearse role where, you throw to him on third downs, you throw to him in maybe long down situations to try and get a first down. Curtis, just your thought of like what impact Cooper Kupp could have on this game. We know what JSN can bring to the table, but what can Cooper Kupp bring to the table?
It'll be interesting to see how the Patriots try to handle the coverage of those guys on defense, because there's some thought you could be like, okay, we're going to try to put our best guy on their best guy and make that work. Bill Belichick at times had a different kind of thought process of like, we're going to put our best guy on the number 2 guy and then use everything else like bracket coverage, different things like that to try to take away the number 1 and devote the resources that way. So maybe Christian Gonzalez ends up being on Cooper Kupp, and then they try to live handling the rest of it elsewhere with the rest of the defense as a whole. We'll see how successful they are in doing that, because Jackson's torched just about everybody he's played this year. He's been that good.
Yes.
And he's going to get his. Like, Jackson is going to get his in this game. I think particularly if they can't run the ball and they need to throw it, like, there's going to be opportunities for him to factor in as well. Cooper needs to be the chain mover guy, just like you saw in the NFC Championship game, where you're coming to him on the 3rd down and 2 for the touchdown, the 3rd down and 7 to help you extend the drive to end the game. He came up with some really clutch catches there. In addition to how much he factors into the running game as a blocker, that's such a big part of his makeup there and their approach to this game. So that's the thing I'm going to be most curious on early in the game, is to see how the Patriots are trying to cover them in the passing game.
First of all, I wanted to say, you put Gonzalez on Cooper Kupp and leave JSN to the rest of the team. Good luck, all right? I wish you do that, Patriots. Go ahead and do that, and I'll get my own copy of the Lombardi, because the Seahawks will be winning that game. Now, I must admit, I was underwhelmed with Cooper Kupp's production this year. But towards the end of the season, I had a revelation. I saw him actually on TV copy because I'm not one of them football guys watching the all 22 and all that stuff. I saw him blocking, and he was blocking his butt off. So as Curtis said, the run game, he's big. His leadership, just being a mentor to JSN, that means a lot. So this is a case, Cooper Kupp is where the numbers do lie. The numbers are underwhelming. I thought we were getting more, the Super Bowl MVP than this, route runner, possession receiver. But I like the way he's playing towards the end of this season. He's made some big catches, big blocks for sure, and he's a leader on this team. I actually picked him last episode on the sidelines. Check it out. To be the Super Bowl MVP, because I think we're on the same wavelength. Mm-hmm. You go ahead and give JSN too much attention, and you got this veteran who saw everything, ran every route, been there, done that. And you let him run loose in the slot, and I think he can have a huge game, definitely.
Yeah, I think he is a good dark horse pick for Super Bowl MVP. We'll see how it plays out. But, Curtis, let me ask you this, sticking with this topic of like who their top targets are. If the Pats can find a way to shut down JSN a little bit and shut down Cooper Kupp even a little bit, who does this team go to as their kind of third top guy right now? Is it A.J. Barner? Is it Rashid Shaheed? Is it, Jake Bobo now that he's back and healthy? Who are they going to be looking at for, some of their, late in the game? We just got to find somebody who's open right here. Who is it going to be?
Well, I wouldn't be shocked if Ken Walker factors into the passing game a little bit more than you might think, too, because if he's not getting into the running game, like the Seahawks will come out and you still use a lot of their two tight end sets, right? They've been very successful on that. They run a lot of play action out of their two tight end sets. And so now all of a sudden, you've got capable guys there. We'll see if Elijah Arroyo's active for this game or not, or if they just go with Salbert and Callerup and A.J. Barner as the group that they run out there. But if all of a sudden you can split out 4 or 5 wide against those guys, and all of a sudden you take a defensive package that's on there to handle like the tighter compressed two tight end sets that might run at you, and you can spread them out and try to throw on them. Maybe you can get something there. Maybe you can get the slip screens to him, something like that, to where he factors into the passing game a little bit more regularly as well. But as we know, like Barner can make plays. Like if you leave him open, Sam certainly trusts him to find him with plays downfield. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'd go as deep to expect Jake Bobo to necessarily factor into it, but between Walker and Barner, I think that would be your next phase of the offense there to factor in. And Shaheed is such a boomer bust guy because he can take the defense off, the top of the defense off, and he's such a factor with his speed to press the downfield aspect of that. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of there to open up the rest of the field for everybody else, more so than directly for him, unless he's torching Darius Williams one-on-one on the second play of the game in the Rams against the Rams. So he hasn't factored in maybe to the passing game as much as you might have thought when he got over here from the Saints, but that speed is still a factor with what they do.
Yes, it is, and I expect Shaheed to be that difference, that X factor. Definitely, it seems like, and I'm a conspiracy guy, Austin. Because I'm like, some of the plays that they called in the NFC Championship game and towards the end of the season, you didn't see those all season, and we were screaming for it. Where's the go ball to Shaheed? Where is it? We didn't see it all season. Bam. We NFC Championship, he catches that one to the right side, almost breaks it, gets tripped. So I think you'll see more of that. I think Clint Kubiak will open up his playbook more, and you will see more Shaheed. You will see the fly sweeps to him. But I agree with you also, Curtis, where I think Ken Walker will be that number 2 receiver. Barner has been like his production has dropped since they start focusing on that run game. He was coming into his own, having a great season. It still is, don't get me wrong, but his production has dropped a little bit because they stopped calling his number. So I think it will be in order: JSN, Ken Walker, Shaheed, then Barner.
Okay. Kupp's obviously a part of that too, because Cooper will get his too and help him in some of those down-moving situations.
Yeah. Let's flip the script a little bit. We're talking about, obviously, the passing game just now, but the running game being a huge part of if the Seahawks are going to win this game, they need to get the run game going. What about the Patriots? Are they going to have to get the run game going against us, and are they going to be able to do that, Curtis?
It's a big ask, I think, for me. Seattle is so effective with their light box to still stop opposing rushing attacks, and we've seen that all year. Ramondre Stevenson has been called on to play a lot more down the stretch here for him because Travion Henderson is brutal in pass protection. brutal. Like, you watch the tape of him, and he really struggles in that area to where they just kind of put their hands up in some of those instances and not be able to have him on the field. And he's more of their home run hitter type of back there. And not many teams have been able to run against Seattle. You know, the Rams have a little bit been able to, because they were able to go 3 tight ends and cause some mismatches with personnel there and cause some factors. And Sean McVay has seen him twice a year for, last couple of years. There's some familiarity there. The Patriots, I don't see having that kind of collection. And with as poor as their offensive line has played, particularly in the playoffs, I just don't know that the Patriots are going to be able to generate much there in the run game. I mean, their offense has really struggled, particularly in the playoffs. It's a real issue that I think they're going to have.
But they played against the best defenses in the league. I mean, they went through a gauntlet that even the Hawks have had a tough schedule. They went through a gauntlet of teams as far as top defenses. Houston, they went through Denver. So I don't know. I think it might be a little fool's gold there. I am concerned with Travion Henderson. I watch that guy. Now, I don't need to see the numbers. I don't need to see any of the stats. I saw him, and that guy is jumpy. He's a game breaker. He's like Ken Walker. Anywhere he gets the ball, anywhere on the field, he can take it to the house. So he concerns me. Drake May also concerns me. Not a conventional run game, but he has legs. So those two players in particular concern me about, the Patriots in their run game. So I think the Seahawks must be on their keys. They have to have a spy for Drake May, because you don't want him to get loose. So I think Henderson, he might be horrible in pass pro, but they would be silly not to implement him in the game plan, because he's one of their only game breakers that I see when I watch this team play.
Yeah, he can certainly factor when he gets the ball for sure, but if he can't at least hold up a little in pass protection, it's a tell to the defense every time he steps on the field that we're going to have him be a part of the running game if he can't. And that's where he's really struggled. I watched every sack that Drake May has taken this year, and several of them came when Travion was getting run over trying to help in pass protection. So some of those reps looked really ugly for him. So that is an area that's why they've kind of pushed more towards Ramondre Stevenson and more of a just stable option there than the home run hitter, because when they need to all of a sudden throw the ball out of a look like that, even on some of the heavy play action looks where they go max protect and play action off of it, they're still getting pressure there against him. I mean, Drake May's been sacked 5 times in each of the 3 playoff games that they've had, and that's a real area of concern. Will Campbell, their left tackle's really struggled at times. The left guard, Jared Wilson's had his issues there too. That left side of the offensive line has really been a problem for them in the postseason here. And you kind of talked about Super Bowl MVPs. If there's one coming from it might be somebody like DeMarcus Lawrence, that just gives Will Campbell a fit, all day, forces a sack fumble that leads to a big score, and now all of a sudden you're kind of rolling. I could see a scenario like that play out. Drake May's put the ball on the ground a lot too. A lot of fumbles have come from him in those sack situations as well. So I do think the ball is going to be vulnerable. As Dante said, May running will factor in to them. And Nicky Minwari would be a great spy for him in certain situations. You can't do it all the time, but he can handle Drake May in space if you need him to. I mean, Drake Thomas could certainly factor into that. They got a couple options they can do in some of those moments, but it all comes back to Seattle being able to get their rush with 4, which we've seen most of the season them be successful doing. I expect them to be able to do that as poorly as the Patriots offensive line has been playing, and being able to cover in the back end when you're able to drop 7 and get everybody kind of handled on that side of the.
And let me add quickly, Austin, about the run game. Ramondre Stevenson, he had a fumble problem all season long. He got benched. So you want to go ahead and run Stevenson out of there? Let's hopefully he revert back to his ways early in the season, puts the ball in the ground, and hopefully we can recover it. So Stevenson is not a reliable back. He's picked it up as of late, but he has a history of fumbling.
Yeah, I mean, the deeper you dig into this game, the deeper it seems like the Seahawks should be favored and are favored.
And that concerns me too.
Right, we like to play as the underdog.
I liked them all season long when they were underdogs. Yeah. Now that everybody glazing the Hawks and everybody's on the bandwagon, I'm just like, I'm feeling a little uneasy. Now I'm still with my Hawks, Austin, but I don't like everybody on board.
Well, let me ask you guys this. I think when the line originally came out, it was Seahawks favored by 4 or 4.5 points.
I think initial line was 3.5.
3.5.
It immediately jumped to 4.5 because kind of pushed that way.
And I haven't seen what it's at recently. I'm assuming it's still somewhere around that area. But do you think, DJack, that is a fair kind of evaluation? Do you think the odds makers are almost kind of giving the Patriots more points just because they're saying, hey, this is the Super Bowl and anything can happen in the Super Bowl.
Yes, of course. I mean, they on scholarship too. I say it all the time. You talking about the 4th ranked defense, whereas the Hawks is the 1st ranked defense. And I actually have played better in the playoffs as far as my eyeballs tell me. I saw the Patriots shut down Houston and make C.J. Stroud look like a shell of a man. I've watched them. I mean, they had steady, but at the same time, they did what they were supposed to do against a backup quarterback. So this Patriots defense, make no mistake, they are formidable. They have been great in this playoffs, definitely. And they finished 4th in defense as far as the NFL for the year. So these guys are on scholarship too. And the offense, I believe, is 2nd ranked in the NFL. So they have the numbers, they have the backup, they have everything to back their spot in the Super Bowl up. So I do think the Hawks are a better team. 4.5, 5 points. I think the Hawks have that, definitely. They should win that. I picked the score of 28-17 myself personally. I do think it will be a close game with the Hawks pulling away at the end.
If it's a clean game, like not a wild turnovers one way or another, it's really hard for me to see the Patriots getting more than 20 points.
Yeah.
Like I think the issues that they have with their offensive line and how poorly Drake May has played in the playoffs is really going to keep their offense struggling because, as you mentioned, they've struggled against good defenses in the playoff, but the Seahawks were the number 1 scoring defense in the league for a reason. The only team that's really been able to crack them was the Rams in Tampa in Week 5 when they ended up having 3 guys missing out of their secondary. So I think they're rightfully favored by 4.5, 5 at this point. And
yes.
Look, if there's a blowout in this game, there's only one way it can go. Like I do not see the Patriots being capable of blowing Seattle out.
Right.
So I do think Seattle is capable of blowing out New England. Not that I'm necessarily picking that to happen, but I think the issues in this game definitely push Seattle's favor for sure.
Yeah, that underdog mentality we usually have here in Seattle. New England's going into this game riding a little bit of that, right?
Yeah,
Mike Vrabel, that's got to be in his messaging this week leading up to the game.
For sure. I mean, look, you want me to do a script that the Patriots win? I can do it. Like Milton Williams and Christian Barmore make a miserable afternoon for Anthony Bradford. They really cause problems up there on the front that Seattle struggles to block. Drake May makes a few downfield throws to Kayshon Boutte that all of a sudden, takes cracks the Seattle defense that otherwise plays pretty well. And the Seahawks, whether it's through a sack fumble, through an interception or whatever, puts the ball in peril enough to either give a short field or direct points off turnovers on a pick six or something that all of a sudden shifts the focus of the game a little bit and gives the Patriots a leg up that they probably shouldn't have otherwise if all things were equal. That would be the way I think the Patriots can win this game, because I think if Seattle keeps the turnovers off the board like they have throughout the playoffs, it's really hard for me to see a way that New England wins this one.
I concur wholeheartedly.
Yeah. All right, let's go to that Fox Sports article that came out this week.
Right.
They did a breakdown, each position group, which team has the edge at each position group, and we'll just start from the top, quarterback. And it was interesting to me because they picked the Seahawks having the edge at quarterback. I think if you would have asked, people 10, 12 weeks ago who would have had the edge at quarterback, they would have said the Patriots, right? Drake May was off to that hot start in MVP talks there for a little while. I think Darnold crept into MVP talks for a week or two, but then fell out a little bit, especially the 4-interception game against the Rams. But now going into this game, and I think rightfully so, they're saying the Seahawks have the edge at that position, Sam Darnold over Drake May right now in this moment. You both would agree with that, right?
I don't know. I think it's a push simply because of Drake May's legs. I think he's dangerous running the ball, and he can throw it. But what comes into question is health. Now they're speculating that he might have a hurt shoulder, a hurt throwing shoulder at that. So how much does that factor in? I think you can give the slight edge to Darnold simply because of experience. He's been in the league over, 8 years? So the experience is the only thing I would give Darnold, definitely. But as far as quarterbacking, I would say it's an even matchup.
Let me counter that real quick. I would say I would give Darnold the edge just based on momentum, like how he's looked over the last month versus how May has looked over the last month.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're
the 2 weeks, though, I think solves a lot of the New England ills, right? Mm-hmm. You get that 2 weeks. He gets a chance to heal. You get a chance to study one team, and you saw the Rams. You take their blueprint and you try to mimic that. So the 2 weeks is the great equalizer, I would say. So that's why I say it's a little bit closer than you think.
Drake May had a really good season. in the MVP conversation, Matthew Stafford is 10 times a better passer of the football. Structurally, knowing how to, being the long-term veteran he is, he knows how to attack defenses far better at this stage of his career than Drake May does. And I think Matthew Stafford is uniquely kind of geared to being able to have success against Seattle's defense. One, because he sees them all the time. And there's a reservoir of information there from facing Mike Macdonald defenses throughout the years that Drake May just does not have. And then you throw in the fact that May in the playoffs, 56% completion percentage, 6.9 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions. There's been at least a couple fumbles in there. Yeah, he's put the ball on the ground 6 times in the playoffs. I think the edge is, with how they're playing right now, maybe he can find the regular season level of success again. To me, it's clearly Sam Darnold right now is the better quarterback at this moment. Going into this
I personally throw out that Patriots Broncos AFC Championship just because of the weather.
Right. I think you can read the first half. Once the snow, and he was not good in the first half of that game either.
Yeah, and the Denver defense was ranked number 2 in the NFL, and this is what I'm talking about. After you win against Houston, also it was like number 4. So I think Drake May has had a harder road, tougher road than Sam Darnold. And also the Rams' game plan was let's make Darnold beat us. And that's what Darnold did. Now, we don't know what the Patriots going to come out in. Are they going to come out to stop the run game first and say, and say, hey, we're going to let Darnold beat us. If he beats us, hey, we're good. So we don't know that. And that's why I say the 2 weeks in between this game and the championship games is very important because we don't know what the Patriots going to come out and do, what they're going to, amplify, I guess, in their game plan. I agree with Curtis. Definitely, I give the slight edge to Darnold, but not by much because we've seen Sam Darnold revert back to turning that ball over. Even in the great games, I was thinking the last one, they're rolling, and he drops a snap. Good thing it bounced right to him. That would have been a turnover. They were only up 13-3. So, some of those mistakes seems to catch up with Darnold at times, and let's just hope he can play a clean sheet in the Super Bowl.
If Sean Payton kicks a field goal, they're probably not even here. If they're up, Denver's up 10-0 in that game, 2-score game, and the weather starts to become the bigger factor it is, like even with Jarrett Stidham playing quarterback for you, that might be with the way the Patriots are playing right now, might be too much for them to overcome, and you'd be facing the Broncos this week instead. Like their offense really has struggled here in the playoffs, and I think that's why that edge would go towards.
I don't think you can go with the ifs because if Charbonnet doesn't pick up the ball or hand to the ref, Rams have number 1 seed, and Seattle doesn't have this path. If Shaheed doesn't run a return back, which is unlikely, yes, it's a play in a game, but it is highly unlikely he doesn't return that, then, Rams have number 1 seed, and the path is different. So it's a lot of ifs. They did that. They beat that team that they put out there. I give much respect to the New England Patriots. They belong where they are, definitely. They go from 4 wins to the Super Bowl. The unlikeliest Super Bowl between the Seahawks and the Rams. So there's a lot of ifs you can say, Curtis.
Sure. Like the Jimmy Johnson line, you are what your record says you are, though, at the end of the day, right?
Right.
And the Patriots' record over the last 3 games that they played offensively is pretty sour. So I think I trust what I see in that regard as the way that they're playing right now. And that's why I think I give Seattle the edge there.
Yes.
Yep. All right, going down the list, they have the Seahawks having the edge at running back, even without Zach Charbonnet. They're saying K9 is essentially by himself giving the Seahawks the edge at that position group over the two-headed beast. Not two-headed beast, but whatever you want to call it
I'll
for the
zag
Pats.
on that one and say that the Patriots, I think, because they've got the 2 guys.
Yeah.
Because Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson can factor in. I will give them the slight edge there. If Charbonnet was still healthy for them, that would be Seahawks edge for sure. Yeah. And I think Ken Walker's the best back of the group. It's just the fact that the Patriots have 2 guys that they can rely on that I think would, at least for me, give them the slight edge there.
Yeah,
I would agree with Curtis. I think the Patriots do have an edge there with Henderson and Stevenson simply because they've been splitting carries basically all season long. They're both productive backs. Stevenson has been there, done that also. So I would give the slight edge to the Patriots, definitely. But K9 is coming into his own, and he wants his money too.
Yeah.
So he's running for more than the Super Bowl ring. He's running for a bank account,
right.
Trust me.
I'll be interested to see how they kind of incorporate George Holani into this game and going down the list, some of their other running backs that are available. Obviously K9 will get the majority of touches, but it'll be interesting to see what they do there as well. So
I don't want to see Velus Jones. I'm sorry, or anybody else. If it's not Holani or K9, I don't want to see him. We haven't seen him all season. Don't get tricky. Don't do things that you haven't done all season. And that's something the 2 weeks can also be a detriment. I don't want Clint to try to, trick anybody or show them why he's the hottest commodity in the coaching circles. No, just do what got you here.
And he's already got the job. He doesn't need to sell him. He's going to be the Raiders coach. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. Cam Akers would probably be the third back for this game. I mean, he's played in the Super Bowl before too. It certainly wouldn't be if they need to give him a couple snaps here or there. I don't think they would have any issue doing that.
Yeah. Next on the list, I'm sure you guys have some thoughts about this, is the wide receiver position group. They are giving the edge to the Patriots with Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, and Demario Douglas over JSN, Cooper Kupp, and they put Rashid Shaheed as the WR3 for the Seahawks on this specific list. Do you agree with that?
I think Jackson's so much better than anybody that they've got right now that it might swing Seattle's favor for me, just because he's by far the best receiver on the field for this game. But Boutte being a deep threat, Stephon Diggs can still give you enough to be a factor. I think it's pretty even because, to be fair, when all is said and done there between that group. If Shaheed's able to be a little bit more of a factor in the passing game too, then I think that, pushes it slightly towards Seattle. But I do think it's a pretty even matchup just because Jackson's so much better than anybody else that the Patriots throw out there.
Yeah, and I would say the tight ends, Hunter Henry versus Barner, you got to give that to the Patriots. Hunter Henry is a good tight end. Barner is emerging. He's a young, promising prospect, definitely, or a player that's coming into his own. As far as the wide receivers, I agree with Curtis. I agree with you with the report that the Patriots do have a slight edge. I don't think JSN, I believe he's the best wide receiver, but you don't give him that much over Stephon Diggs. You're talking about a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro. He's done it at multiple stops. He's not what he used to be, but he's still that guy. And JSN is better by all accounts. We can see that. But that much better to put that receiving core over top of the Patriots when they have production straight across on those four guys. And I feel like Seahawks is a little top-heavy with JSN. And who's that second guy going to be? We've been watching them all season, and we don't know. Is it going to be Kupp? Is it going to be Barner? Will we get a go baller Shaheed? You don't know who that second guy will be. Is it K9 coming out of the backfield? We don't know. Why? Because JSN has been like, the moon eclipsing the sun. I mean, he makes everything dark. He has a big presence. He has a record-breaking season, franchise records all over the place. Definitely. So I would probably give the edge to the Patriots simply because of, they have a full wide receiver core where, each one of them is productive, I would say.
Yeah,
Just my
DJack,
opinion.
you mentioned it, the tight ends. They did give the Pats the edge at tight end as well. And then rounding out the offense, they gave the Seahawks the offensive line advantage, Curtis.
When it comes to tight end, I would just say, it depends what do you want from your tight ends. Because if you're talking the receiving game, sure. I think Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper are more viable receiving targets overall than what Seattle brings. But Seattle's tight ends are so good in the blocking game and the ground game that I think that balances that matchup out quite a bit in my mind. And certainly all of those guys are capable of making a catch if you need it as well.
Yeah. I'll make this easy for defense.
And you asked about the offensive line, too. Offensive line is clearly Seattle.
Yeah.
Seattle's clearly, even with Anthony Bradford being an issue, the Patriots have got at least two issues on their offensive line on the left side.
Yeah.
Will Campbell is watching some of the most recent games here, and as you mentioned, gets good defenses and guys that can do some things. He's really had trouble, particularly with guys lining up really wide on the edge, really wide 9 kind of technique, kind of edge rushers. There's times where he'll even get help with a chip, and then the guy will have to restart and still beat him. Coming in there, because for whatever reason it messes up his timing of setting it. Helping him's not helping him in some aspects. It would almost be better to just let him handle it. And that's one area where I think Seattle's going to find ways to overload that left side at times. As we know, they don't pressure much. But when they do pressure, it's really, really effective because it's that change up for them. They're not necessarily looking for it all the time. And if they find the right kind of scheme set up to attack that left side, get the right kind of stunt, pairings against them from time to time, where you get the tackle rushing upfield to get the guard going with him and looping the end around, and you can create some real issues on that offensive line.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard they had problems with twists and stunts.
Yeah. They very much do. That shows up pretty quickly on tape when you watch it.
Yeah. I mean, look for the offensive line of the Seahawks to dominate. I think Bradford here to talk, just like Sam Darnold did. I think he'll have one of his best games. Right now, he has a picture of Milton Williams on the punching bag right now, and he's taking a left hook, right hook body blow. Right now, Anthony Bradford is licking his chops because he has something in store for the Patriots.
You just need to – Bradford will get his play. Like, the thing about Bradford is if he gets his hands on you, you're done.
Right.
Like, he's very strong and very, very good at that. The problem is he'll occasionally have a missed assignment altogether, and and there's times where he whiffs when he whiffs big.
Yeah.
It's a hack over, a change up Pedro Serrano style where it's not even close to touching the player you want. But like when he gets his hands on you, he's fine, and you can kind of help scheme around one weakness. The issue is they've got two good interior guys in Barmore too, to where they can one of those guys might end up one-on-one. You're going to try to help Bradford as much as you can in those situations, but then maybe Gray Zabel can't hold up against Milton Williams if Barmore's drawing the double team from, say, Sundell and Bradford, and you get a little bit of an issue there. But because those guys are very, very good. I'm not super worried about their edge presence. Caleb Von Chason and Harold Landry, they're good. They're good, solid players. I don't think they're like anything you need to lose sleep over on the edge.
Yeah, beyond the Seahawks just having the offensive line edge going into this game, I think if you would have told me 1 year ago today, I'm watching last year's Super Bowl, the Seahawks didn't even make the playoffs, and a big part of it was because of the offensive line. If you would have told me then that, hey, not only are the Seahawks going to play in Super Bowl 60, the offensive line is going to have the edge and be the better offensive line in Super Bowl 60 compared to their opponent, I would not have believed a thing you were saying.
Yeah, and that's one thing, going back to the opponents New England's faced here in the playoffs. The Chargers were missing both their starting tackles. That offensive line really struggled. And similarly with Houston, their offensive line has some real issues too, and that showed up when you watched them. I think it was one of the reasons why New England's defense has been on the run that they have as well. They've had some offensive lines that they've played have not been super stout.
All right. I mentioned it. We'll keep it easy on defense because, as you might imagine, the Seahawks have the edge nearly at every position. There's only one position group that they didn't give the Seahawks the edge. So going down the list, D-line and outside linebacker, they gave the edge to the Seahawks. Inside linebacker with Ernest Jones, they gave the edge to the Seahawks there as well. And then going to the DBs at corner with Witherspoon, they gave the Seahawks the edge there as well, despite Rick Woolen's, near disaster of a NFC Championship game. We'll put that in the past. We'll put that behind us. But the only position group they're giving the Pats the edge is at safety. So you have Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson at safety for the Pats, and then of course in Seattle you have Julian Love. Who would the other safety be for the Seahawks? Kobe Bryant.
Yes,
Yeah,
Kobe Bryant. I disagree with that.
Yeah,
I think Kobe Bryant has had an All-Pro season. If he wouldn't have got hurt, I think he would have actually been in that running. Kobe Bryant has had a spectacular season. And Julian Love, since he's been back, he's been a calming influence on this defense where everybody went back to their rightful place. And I was one of the ones. I'll raise my hand. When they wanted to take Ty Okada out the way he was playing, I was like, no, you don't do that. I don't care who they are. But Julian Love has come into his rightful place as a leader on this defense, and he's brung that, like I said, that steady hand, that veteran influence that knows everything. He's a quarterback on the back end. So Julian Love and Kobe Bryant, I don't care who they are. I'm taking those two over anybody.
Yeah, I mean, when I've watched, I haven't noticed like Hawkins all that much, but Woodson's made some plays for them. He's helped them a decent amount for sure. Just because I have more familiarity watching Seattle, I think it's at least a push to me because
Yes.
I think that group has played pretty well this season. I would certainly give Seattle the edge at linebacker, particularly if Robert Spillane, who did not practice last week for the Patriots, is not able to play with an ankle injury he has. Then that group is just not as talented with Christian Ellis there. And the backups that they have in that situation, not something I'd be overly concerned about. And as we talked about, the interior of their defensive line is where their best pieces are with Milton Williams and Christian Barmore. That's their star piece of the unit. And as long as Williams is out there, I mean that brings their defense together and raises its ceiling pretty significantly.
Let me ask you this, Austin.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw the Seahawks defense get beat over the top?
I can't even think of it in my head.
I mean, Puka Nacua gave us problems, but that was pretty much catch and run.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
a lot of deep in cuts.
Yes,
and such,
but you're talking about over the top and beating the safety. I haven't seen it all year. Knock on wood. I don't want to see it in the Super Bowl, trust me, but I haven't seen it all season. So, and that accounts for this safety play.
Yeah, what you're basically saying is, while they gave the edge to the Patriots in this Fox Sports article, maybe because they've made better plays, what you're saying is, it's a safety's job that the ball isn't thrown their way.
Right.
And you shouldn't be having to make plays.
Yes.
And that's kind of more, showing of how good your safety group is are there balls being thrown deep and being caught deep? And if there aren't any, like a cornerback's best game is 0 catches allowed, right? And it doesn't show up on any highlight reel because they aren't making a tackle. They aren't making an interception.
They're not throwing your way.
Forcing a fumble, right? But they're just shutting down a wide receiver.
So Seattle's defense plays a lot of zone coverage. That's the thing that they live in more often than not all season long. That's their bread and butter. They play a lot of cover 6, actually, to quarter, half in the back end. It's kind of one of their main staple kind of coverage concepts. And the Rams found ways to attack that in both games, but particularly a second regular season game. We're able to do that to where it forced Seattle to try to change in the NFC Championship game. They started playing more man in that game to try to take away some of those plays that the Rams had gotten them on in the last matchup, and that's where you saw the couple shot plays over the top where Puka Nacua beats Woolen after the penalty. He gets behind Devin Witherspoon once, and Devontae Adams, I think, got behind Witherspoon once where he kind of slipped and fell on a couple of those little moments. And so those come out of man-to-man situations where they were able to have some success against that. Drake May has been the best thrower downfield this season against man-to-man. Like, if you're in man, he can find a way to beat you. And Seattle theoretically should not be living in man against the Patriots. I expect them to be zone heavy against them, and that's one reason why you don't see the shots downfield against them, is because they kind of play softer zone to keep things in front of them, and their defensive line's able to get success with 4 up front. The Rams were so good at attacking them and were able to hold up in pass protection enough to attack that, force them to change downfield, and giving Matthew Stafford the time to hit those shots downfield, where I don't think this Patriots offensive line is capable of doing the same way. So if people are expecting, well, Drake May was an MVP candidate, Matthew Stafford was an MVP candidate, they're going to be able to attack Seattle like the Rams did. No, they're different teams, and I don't expect that to be the situation.
Yeah. Wrapping up that Fox Sports article, the last one that they gave the position group edge to for special teams as a whole, obviously the Seahawks with that. Michael Dixon, one of the best punters in the league. Rashid Shaheed, probably the best return specialist in the league right now. No surprises there. So as we wrap up the episode,
Myers, you don't leave
Jason Myers,
don't leave Jay Myers.
He's been good as well, obviously. So yeah, going down the list, it was mostly Seahawks getting the edge. I don't think any of us are really surprised by that. It's going to take, not a miracle, but it's going to take a lot of good plays for the Pats to win this game and a lot of bad plays from Seattle to lose this game on their side. So you see it in their article at each position group. The Pats only had the advantage in 3 of them. So
yes. The Hawks are clearly the stronger team.
That's why the line is what it is.
Yes.
Right.
The Seahawks are rightfully favored in this game, and if the trend of the way the teams are playing holds up, it's a one-off game. It can go any way.
Yes.
I think we agree.
That's the concern.
If these teams live up to the way they've been playing, it's going to be a runaway.
Yeah.
If that's the case, which we don't know, but I think that's why the spread is in Seattle's favor pretty heavily. And as we said earlier, I think the Seahawks are the only team that could win a blowout between these two teams.
Let me ask you this, Curtis. I just want to pick your brain about Sam Darnold. We talked about him. He's been a great quarterback for the Seahawks. I don't care about the turnovers and all that. He's taking his team by the reins and leading his team to a Super Bowl. Do you rip up his team-friendly deal if he wins the Super Bowl and pay him like a franchise quarterback?
I don't think they need to do that next year because he has 2 years left on the contract. The Seahawks, generally the way that they operate, and you can go back a decade plus, the way that they operate is they won't give extensions to players before there's 1 year left on the contract. They won't do it. That's when Cam Chancellor held out in 2015. He was trying to get 2 years out, trying to get a new contract. They didn't do it. He had to come back after missing 2 games. Marshawn Lynch held out in a similar situation. They didn't give him a new deal. They moved the money around to give him more up front, but they didn't give him a new deal. And similarly, that's what Geno Smith got so mad about 2 years ago, is that he wanted to get the Seahawks to give him a new contract 2 years out, and they're like, that's not the way we operate. We're not going to do that. And he got very sour about that and felt disrespected. That was one of the reasons he wanted out after last season. And so I don't think the Seahawks are necessarily going to change their operating policy to go give Darnold another contract, that extra year early and break their tradition of what they've done over the years. I think you just play it out another year and then give him the contract then if he's still playing to this level. Because by the same token, like the young guys that they've got coming now, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Devin Witherspoon, you don't want to set a precedent of giving those guys contracts that extra year early either if that's the way you're going to operate. And that's something that John Schneider believes in. It's something that Paul Allen has kind of sent back in the day as kind of their operating principle. And John's like, yeah, I agree with that, and no reason to change that. And so I think even though it is your quarterback, I don't think they're going to look to do that at this point.
What an exciting week, gentlemen. We are a couple days away from Super Bowl 60 with our Seattle Seahawks playing the New England Patriots. It's going to be a blast to see our team play for a championship. It's been over a decade, like DJack mentioned, so can't wait for Sunday. Hopefully, Ethan McReynolds is back here in this seat with you next week, DJack, talking about a Seahawks win, I hope. But we'll see. We will get there when the time comes. That will do it for this week's episode.
We're not going to get the picks?
I'll leave everybody with the one lasting image of this week's episode, which is me in the lead by one game over Will and Ethan. So technically there is a chance, and we had to introduce some tiebreakers this week going into the Super Bowl. So if I get mine wrong and Ethan and Will get their pick right, we will have some tiebreakers to deal with. But with one game left on the season, I am up by one game on both of them. DJack, congratulations on a good season. You are in fourth place out of 4. We don't have to talk anymore about that. We'll leave it there.
But I said I'm proud of this team because, look, you win with me. You win money with each one of us. We're both all above 500.
Yeah.
If you go ahead with money on me, you win. So you might not win as much as Austin, but you do win, all of us.
And a reminder for what we kind of did for the rules for this season was each week we would pick 3 games. One of them had to be an underdog by at least 2.5 points on the Vegas lines. So it's not a bad record across the board. Like you said, we did pretty good.
And do we got 2 minutes, Austin? I know we're running time.
Give me 30 seconds. Give me 30 seconds.
Because I got a top 5 list. All right?
Okay, give me your top 5.
Top 5, dead or alive, best Seahawks offseason acquisitions. We're going to start with 5. Rashid Shaheed with the wide receiver, Pro Bowl kick returner, punt returner. All right, let's go ahead.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Not an off-season acquisition. That's an in-season acquisition.
In-season. I'm sorry. All right.
In-season.
In-season. Thank you, Curtis. All right. Rashid Shaheed is number 5. 4, DeMarcus Lawrence, the dark side. He brought it. He said he wanted to turn out the lights. He has 2 touchdowns, and I'm telling you that Brosmer from the Vikings still having nightmares right now. All right. Ernest Jones runs it back. 3, Clint Kubiak. He's been in his bag since the middle of the season. Clint Kubiak.
Giving the coaches some love.
Definitely. I got to give him some love, but I couldn't put him above our quarterback for the defense, Ernest Jones. Remember, I even called out John Schneider. What you waiting on? What's taking so long to sign Ernest Jones? Thank goodness we have that guy, Green Dot. He's the leader on this defense, the quarterback. And speaking of quarterbacks, the number 1 all-season acquisition, Sam Darnold. What more can you say? A resurgence in his career. He has a franchise record, 14 wins, and he's carried this team helped carry this team to the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold is the number 1, top 5, dead or alive, Seahawks acquisition. What'd you think about the list, Austin?
There you have it. I like it.
All right.
I'm glad that we got that in. We snuck it in at the end there. DJack bringing the electricity. I hope you are carrying that throughout this weekend on Sunday as well. We'll see you next week. Curtis, thank you for joining us this week. And I'm producer Austin Lane. That'll wrap it up for this week's edition of the On the Sidelines podcast.
Let's go!